Okay, so this is part 2 of our Mashiach class. Last class we did a lot of information. That was the introduction. If you weren't here, watch the video, it's online. This is class 2. What we're going to do is we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the time of Yaakov, Jacob. And we know that Yaakov, please computers only open the blank pages, Tamar, and phones off. You don't need your phones on at all, so please put your phones away for the class. If you want to call me or text me, you don't have to class, no problem. I'm here. All right. Okay, so we're discussing Yaakov, Jacob. Now we know that Yaakov had to flee after he took the bracha from his twin brother Esav, and he had to run to his unscrupulous uncle, whose name was Lavan. On the way that he was going over there, he stopped at a certain place to get a night's rest. Says Rashi over there, because he hadn't really slept for many, many years before. He was studying so hard, he never really got a full... Here, however, Hashem wanted him to go to sleep at a certain place. Why would God want Jacob to sleep at a certain place? Because he wanted him to have a dream, or a prophecy. And that happened in a very special way. What was that place? What was that place? The same location that his grandfather, Abraham, had brought his son, Yitzchak, that's Yaakov's father, Isaac, to be sacrificed. And that was Mount Moriah. Thank you. Har HaMoriah. Okay? So now Yaakov is fleeing, right? And he gets to Mount Moriah. And on Mount Moriah, he goes to sleep. You remember the whole story, right? He puts the little stones around his head, right? We'll combine together, the 12 tribes over the 12 stones, puts his head down, he goes to sleep. Now, why are we being told about someone's sleeping schedule? Is it important? It is, because he has a nevu, has a dream. And he dreams about a ladder, a sulam. Dreams about a ladder, and this obviously is referred to as Jacob's ladder. This dream, as we don't realize, has great significance because it was a sign and a vision of the future. What future was he seeing? So he saw a ladder. By the way, why was it a ladder? You have to understand that as well. It could have been a set of stairs, right? It could have been a mountain. No, he dreamt of a ladder. Well, that's interesting. We'll make up a little bit later. Something about the shape and the design of a ladder that's important for this story. But on this ladder, if you remember, here's my terrible impression of a ladder, going up like that. And there were many, many rungs on this ladder. And what did he see? Follow carefully. Tamar, don't disturb her. She's about to ask a question. Yes, Miss Fisher. What did he see? What was on it? There were, say it clearly. There were angels, there were malachim, that's correct. And these angels were going which one? Up and down, right? They were oilim, right? The Yordim. That's important. Oilim Yordim. They're going up and they were going down. And the rabbis are fascinated by this because what should angels be doing? Did we discuss it already in class once? No, another class. What should angels be doing? Where are angels located? Whatever that means. In the heavens, in the higher level. It should say they were going down and up. How does Rashi answer that question? And the other commentators agree with him. It's based on the Gemara, I think, yeah. Very, very nice. He was leaving Israel. He was going into, what do you call leaving Israel? Going into Galut. Right? He's going to Galut. He was going to exile, right? He's going Chutz La'aretz into Galut. They say, oh, there's a big difference over here. You see, the angels are going up and going down, because that means there were angels that were accompanying Yaakov. We discussed Israel, I think. There were angels accompanying him. However, those angels stopped at a certain point, because they're Israel angels. And the Malachim, the angels in Israel, whatever this means, I'm not too sure, Sarah, to be honest with you. But those angels had to leave him. Right? The Israeli angels were like, okay, we're done over here. I take you to the border, and off you go, Elal. And the Chutz La'aretz angels were like, I don't know, British ones, right? Okay, I'll take over from here. Okay, so the angels, as a side point, I don't remember this, but what do you mean they were leaving him here? He's in Yerushalayim. Is Yerushalayim on the border of Israel? No. So why did they wait till he got to the border of Israel? On the edge of Gaza or something, I don't know. Why did they wait to that point? Do you understand the question? They were accompanying him outside of Israel. Wow. He had angels with him. He had protective angels with him. That's interesting. They are protective angels.
Why were they accompanying him?
So they were accompanying him, and then he needed to have accompanying angels afterwards. But the angels are different. So these ones have to check out, and those ones have to check in. Check out, go up. Check in, go down. That's the oilim, go up. Yoredim, go down. With me? Why at this point, though he hasn't reached the edge of Israel? Why are these ones checking out? You know what the rabbis say? A beautiful thing. It's not so related to this, but it's very beautiful. Because wherever you are going, that's where you are. That's deep. Chazal say that. Chazal, the rabbi says, wherever you're going. In other words, once he made a decision to leave, it's as though he'd gone. So that's what they.
There you are.
That's very, very nice. Put that down. Yes, it is exactly like. Or yes. See, it's that Har Moriah. This all happened on Mount Moriah, right? Which was a very important location because his grandfather brought his son Yitzchak over there. That's going to be the future site of the Temple in Jerusalem. It's all coming together. So he's going outside to go to his uncle Lavan, leaving Israel. He's leaving Israel. That's where the angels had to leave him. Very, very good. Now let's talk about these angels. Let's talk about these angels because they are not ordinary angels. Who are these angels and why we mentioned this whole story when we're discussing Mashiach? Who are these angels? They represented the 4 nations that were going to subjugate the Jewish people. The 4 galuts, the 4 exiles. Okay? The 4 exiles. Each one of them. And the way Yaakov saw it, he saw how many rungs they were climbing, and he knew each rung was going to represent another year. So we're now going to see the 4 galuts. Okay, so we're going to history, okay, and then we're going to see what they represent. So the oil of the Yoredim. Let's have a look at them. What was the first set of angels he saw? Maybe it was one angel going up. It was the Babylonian one, Babel. Okay, and how many rungs did he see over there? 70 is correct. 70 years. So he was told, your descendants, you see this Babylonian angel? Because each one of these nations have protective angels that represent them. Actually, according to Chazal, everything in this world has a protective angel. Even a blade of grass, says the Gemara, doesn't grow without an angel pushing it with his finger, whatever that means, prodding it to grow. So it has an angel. By the way, just a side point, you see many times in the Gemara, it talks about inanimate objects talking. Inanimate objects talking. Like the mountain spoke, the sun spoke, the moon spoke, the frog speaks. What does that mean? There's 2 possible interpretations. If the moon could talk, this is what it would say. That's one interpretation. The other is, the angel representing it speaks in Shemayim and pleads on its behalf. So each nation, which is 70, has its own angel that's there to plead and work on its behalf. Okay? Are you with me so far? Let's look at the first one. The first one is Bavel, and now he knew it was going to be 70 years. What came after? That's the Babylonians. That's the Babylonian exile, right? Under Nebuchadnezzar. 70 years, okay? Let's start at that point. When 70 years, that's the Purim story, right? 70 years between the first and second temple. Purim happened in there. Okay? That's when Purim happened over here, right? Next is the Persian one, Paras Umadai. Paras Umadai. Hey, the Persian one. Who's excited with the Persians here? You excited? Yeah, Persian exile. Not so good. It wasn't like you can go like shopping and buy, you know, Chanel handbags. It wasn't that kind of exile, I'm just telling you, okay? How long did that one last? 52. We're going to get your question in a second. I'm not ignoring you. I just want to finish through this. I want to get it down. That's 52. Thirdly, this is what? The amount of years. 70 years, 52 years. Next one was Yavan, the Greek exile. The Greek exile. That's Greece. How long? That's, by the way, this is very interesting. Where were the Jewish people during the Greeks? This is so crucial. So important. Where were the Jews during the Greek exile when the Greeks came into, Assyrian Greeks came into Israel? Where were the Jews at that time? In Israel. Did they kick us out of Israel? No. Kicked us out of the temple. Right? That was their goal. More about Hanukkah if you understand what that's all about. But they went to attack us and remove us from Jerusalem. So we were in exile in Israel. Exile does not just mean the physical removal of Jewish people out of Israel. We could be in Israel, but be spiritually disconnected from the Shekhinah, from Garosh Baruch Hu. That's also an exile. We were exiled from, Beit HaMikdash, physically as well. That's why we recaptured it and found the light and the menorah and that business. Yeah? But that's where we were pushed out. With me? Yes? Okay. That was how long did that one last? 130. So Yaakov is seeing all this. He's seeing. Now, why did Yaakov get this vision? Why did Avram get this vision? Or Yitzhak? Maybe they knew this. Why did Yaakov get it? Why is it told in his name? Because Yaakov represents the Jewish people, because Yaakov becomes Israel. Nachon? And Yaakov represents Galut, because he's going into Galut. He's on his way out. It's Masa Avot Similar Banim. What happened to our forefathers is a sign to their descendants. Just like Yaakov was kicked out, he's being told, you know what's happening to you? It's going to happen again in the future. The exiles of the future are going to kick us out of Israel as well. So he saw this, and he understood this wasn't just a one-off deal. It was Masa Avot, right? What happens to our forefathers happens to us. Has everyone heard that expression? Mentioned the Chazal, the Ramban talks about it at length, right? This is the example of it. You're being kicked out right now, they're going to be kicked out too. And then the most frightening of the four, and when Daniel, the prophet, sees, Daniel was very important for the messianic drama. Daniel, the prophet, mega important. One of the few people in Jewish history who knew the end of days, the exact date. He wasn't allowed to reveal it to us. Yaakov knew it, Daniel saw it. Daniel saw the same thing. Now he saw this vision in the form of 4 beasts. Now we're going to come to those 4 beasts later on. Each one of them represents something. They're going to be important. Okay? He saw them as 4 animals. The 4th one, he freaked out. This is Daniel the prophet, the one who would be thrown into the lion's den and survive. That's pretty impressive. All right. People went to lion dens today, they get eaten up. Right? He went in, he survived. So Daniel was freaking out when he saw this, the great Daniel. What did he see? He saw Yaakov saw the 4th one. And Yaakov also freaked out. If I can say that about our patriarch. But he was very, very distressed. Because he saw the last one, which is the Roman one. The Roman exile, Romi. And how long did that last? A long time. The angel for the Romans got on and on and on and on, and we're seeing it 2,000 years later. Although I believe, and I shall prove this to you a little bit later through other sources, they were actually out of the Roman exile, and we're moving to the 5th exile, called the exile of Adam. Now, I don't want to discuss this now, but we could put it. I'm going to put it, this is a little bit novel, although the Arizal speaks about it. Right? The 5th, it's 5th, isn't it? 5th exile. Question mark. If you read books, it was about the 4 exiles, I'm saying the Chazal do speak about a 5th exile that's mentioned, and I have the original. So when we get to that point, I shall talk more about that. But it's the exile of Adam, which is the exile of Yishmael. Yishmael is called a Pera Adam. Pera Adam is called the Galut of Edom. Adam, not Edom, Adam. And that was not revealed over here. This is not mentioned over here. Although in Daniel, my daughter told me, thank God, years of paying tuition finally paid off. It takes time, right? There is a hint, even in Daniel's prophecy, and one of the beasts, in the shape and the material of one of the claws, as to the 5th exile. I believe we're in here. We're in the 5th exile today, the Ishmael one. That's the Arab one. Yeah.
Did Yaakov see this 5th one or no?
I wasn't there. I don't know.
I'm saying like
if this 5th exile is true, and some speak about it, then he saw it.
So either we're in the 4th or no.
Yeah. Listen, you ask anyone, we're in the Roman exile. Right? Rome is the center of the Western world, and that's the exile we're in. Some say we've even passed that. We're in the hardest, shortest one, and that's the Ishmael. That's the 5th exile. I don't want to talk about that too much now. I want to focus on this one. Just for interest, the Balaturim says, Balaturim is the one who looks at all the gematriot. The gematria is all the numerical values of things. And he says it makes sense because the numerical value of the Hebrew names of Bavel, Paras, Yavan, and Romi is 428. The same as Olim v'Yoredim, to go up and go down. Okay, that's 428. So he sees a hint, right? He sees a hint for this whole thing is 428. Same numerical value for Olim v'Yoredim. He sees in these 4 names. Okay? He sees a hint and he mentions it over there. Okay? Yeah.
I just so there's Babylonian exile, and then didn't the Persians take over the Babylonians, and then they're able to rebuild their temple, which Cyrus allowed us?
Oh, that's at the end of the exile. That's the 2nd temple, yes. Right. Cyrus allowed us, right? The son of Esther, according to our tradition, they had to go back and rebuild the 2nd temple, yes.
Okay, so when the 2nd exile started?
So the 2nd exile is the Paras Romana. That was this, it's at the end of this one. It went from Bavel, when Nebuchadnezzar kicked us out. At the end of that, which was 70 years, went back, and then we said to be the Persian one had control over us. So it kind of blends into one.
Oh, so it was before.
Yes. Yes. At the end of the 70, this is very important. By the way, it's not just Jews. The non-Jews knew these numbers too. They knew our prophets. The prophets gave us these numbers. They knew it would last. Right? They understood it was going to last 70 years. There's in the Gemara Megillah, in the Talmud Tractate, the non-Jews, Vashti had her own calculation. Not of the 70. Listen to carefully, it's very interesting. Not of the 70. They knew it would last 70 years. What they didn't know was when the clock started of the 70. Why is that important? Because that's going to determine when the end was. So Vashti had her end time, Achashverosh had his, and they were off. And if you come to my next semester, we go through Purim in a lot more detail, and we'll see what they did. The beginning of the Megillah is the 3rd year of Achashverosh's reign. That's the first verse, right? In the 3rd year, right, when Achashverosh, Al-Kisei, when he was on his throne, that 3rd year was Achashverosh's calculation of the end of the 70. He was wrong. He was way off. All right? Because you have to figure out when it begins. Is it the first Jews that get out? Is it the last Jews? Is it when the rabbis were kicked out? Is it the destruction of the temple? So there are different opinions. He had his own calculation. So Achashverosh throws a big party. This 70 has ended. You Jews are staying here. That's why he dresses up as the Kohen Gadol. He makes a big party, invites all the Jews as well. This is your new Israel. This is your new Jerusalem. They've done that many times also in Jewish history. It's fascinating, right? He had his own calculation. He was wrong. He was off by many, many years. Okay? There's a whole calculation. So this was known, not just to the Jews. The non-Jewish world knew that the prophets had said, 70 years. So he's celebrating, end of 70? You Jews ain't going nowhere. It was a big celebration for him. And what was the big problem? We went to the party, except Mordechai. We celebrate this, but now you know. Jews go to parties all the time. No. This is a party celebrating the end of the Jewish exile. And we're still in exile. And he was wrong. He had the wrong calculation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are you with me, sisters? Yes.
What was the hint that you're talking about for Olim V'Yorim?
That's 428 numerical value of the words Olim V'Yorim instead of the Baloturim. Olim V'Yorim, going up, going down. And that is the same numerical value of the Hebrew words Babel, Paras, Yavan, and Madai.
Oh.
So he says. I haven't done the math, but that's what the Baloturim says. Yeah. No, Egyptian exile, because we were not the Jews, very good. We were not the Jews in Egypt. We were Hebrews. So the exiles begin was when the Jewish people, which is after we left Egypt. But, however, you're right. The years we were in Egypt, Avraham Avinu saw that exile, and that actually is a representation of the future exiles as well. All the 4 exiles in the future will be contained in the Egyptian exile. Actually, according to Arizal, all these 4 can be seen in this 5th one as well. If you hold by the 5th one, don't have to. But if you hold that the 5th exile is Adam, Yishmael, then all these 4 are held somewhere inside this little crunch over here. The amount of suffering, physical and spiritual, because some of these are physical suffering, some of these are spiritual. Right? What do they do on Purim? They try to kill us. How do we celebrate Purim? By physical, by eating. Well, on Yavan, the Greeks, what do they try to do? Not kill us, they try to spiritually destroy us. How do we celebrate it? By lighting candles. Spiritual light brings light. So everything we do, it all fits in over here. This last one is a combination of all 4. So Egypt is not considered one of the 4 because it happened before we were Jews.
But we're still Ben Yaakov. Ben Yisrael. We're still seeing how.
Yeah, we are. Because Yaakov was the only one that only had Jews, right? Avram had a Yishmael, and Yitzhak had an Esau. So we talk about Yaakov. Yaakov is considered to be his mitel shalem, says Rashi. His bed was complete. All his kids became future Jewish people. So we kind of trace ourselves to Bnei Yisrael, the children of Jacob. Yeah.
There's nothing above Alumatria is 428.
Are you trying to do the calculation?
It's like 34.
Okay, and I don't know, he does the calculation. You can have a look at the Balaturim. It's Bereshit, Chavchet, Yud Gimel. 2813, Balaturim. I looked up many years ago, I have in my notes. That's what he says. He was a big rabbi, Balaturim. He's the author of the Torah. All of them together, all 4 of them, not just one. All 4 of these names, all 4 exiles go to Olim V'Yorim, he says. Yeah, not just one. Yeah, all together, yeah.
So that's the years of exile? No.
That's the... yes. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's not the years.
Romi.
Like the vowel.
Romi, which I believe he spells Reish.
Adam is included in
No, Adam. 4. I shouldn't have said the Adam, but I regret it now. I don't want to confuse you. You see, the 5th one is just another part, which I'll show you the source for. It comes more from the Kabbalistic things, but it's spoken about. Rav Chaim Vital brings it down in a Sefer where he does the commentary on Tehillim, and over there, when we get to, we'll look at that piece, and he talks about it. It's fascinating. It's really interesting. By the way, you're going to see over there the great merit Ishmael have. There's a reason that there's a mosque on Har HaBayit. The Muslims get great merit for what they've done. Right? They've done a lot of good stuff. They're from people, they're religious. Right? They do circumcision, they're not obligated to. They have an element of tzniut as well. They get it in the Olam Hazeh, we get an Olam Haba. Wow, that's a big statement. I know, I didn't make that statement. That's what the Rav Chaim Vital says. I'll show it to the original Hebrew.
What's the connection between Yishmael and the fifth exile?
Yishmael is the fifth exile, because Yishmael is called in the Torah a Pera Adam, a wild ass of a man.
More reason, I'm saying, like what's the reason why you call it that person?
I'm going to get to that, right? Because he's a nice Adam. Adam is better. These four are animals. Remember, Daniel compared these four to animals, right? He's Adam, but his Pera is wild. It's unbridled. Okay, he's Adam. He's doing this praying, but everything's extreme. Tzniut, modesty, but extreme, right? Kiddush Hashem, right? Kill ourselves. So it's extreme. It's Pera. It's wild, but it's still Adam.
Wouldn't that be more like Bilam? Like, I don't know, Yishmael just like...
Oh no, not Bilam's. Yeah.
Wait, so if Muslims are getting the, like, reward...
You're jumping to the icing on the cake. I want to get through the cake. I'm going to get there. I promise you, Lena, I'm going to get there. Right? I want to just build up because we got to go stage by stage. I'll just give you the 4 exiles, okay? So that's where we are. So Mashiach is occurring at the end of the 4th. That's what I'm telling you. Simple as that. Okay. How long are these 4 exiles? A maximum, as we said last class, of 6,000 years. Okay, we said, right? Because 6,000, we said from the 6 Aleph, Nachon, right? And we're 5777, right? So that's the, right? That's going to be that's the outer date, by the way. We said last class, if you remember, or last class, right? That's the outer date. It's going to be an inner date as well. We're able to bring Mashiach earlier. Okay, but 6,000, or the Ramban anyway, is the maximum we can go to. Yes?
Is it just talking about the exiles themselves, or the time also between exiles? Like, during the time of Babel, when we weren't exiled then anymore, we still didn't...
Okay, so how...
Still were
we are.
exiled.
These are considered the exile years. Okay, when we're living... Okay, what is exile? Exile, when we're not in exile, we are living safely in our land Israel, and the Jews are there. Okay, that is how we define exile. That is not how... So there have been various attacks on us, physically or spiritually. That's called Galut. We are still in Galut. We have the land of Israel now, Baruch Hashem, thank God. We're not particularly safe over there. We're not safe anywhere. We're still in Galut.
So
This is the understand. We are still in Galut. This is very, very important. Maybe God will come to the end of Galut, and we're seeing signs of it, and we're definitely seeing signs of it. We are still in exile, although we have possession of the land of Israel, just like we were in the Greek story of Yavan.
So
Are you with me?
is the time between the Babylonian exile and the Persian exile, is that...
I think they were hungry. They followed one from the other, I believe. Okay. So we got that down. Are we good? Okay. Who's going to come fix this for us? Thank you so much, Mashiach. So Mashiach, we said last class, is a person, an individual, a king. He's going to be the melech of the Jewish people. Yeah? King's coming back. Royalty is returning. What's his name? No, seriously, what's his name? Anyone know Mashiach's name? No, we're going to meet a rabbi that actually met Mashiach, Rav Shua ben Levi. The Gemara tells a great story about him meeting him. We're going to get there eventually. But has Mashiach got a name? Harry? Shlomo? Eli Lubavitch is here? Eli Lubavitch is here? Seriously, Eli Lubavitch here? Beautiful. What's Mashiach's name? Menachem? You have to be dead. Oh, you don't need a Mashiach for this. Let's go through. We have Mashiach over here. Okay? The Gemara says there are 4 possible names. Now, we have to understand what this means. It's not just like, oh, random names, right? It's Harry, Sheila, you know what I'm saying? It's like, right? It's just interesting that the Gemara does delineate it. And these names represent a person's... What does a name do? I think we discussed in this class. A person's name reveals their mission in life. Whatever your name is reveals your mission. Did I mention that in this class before? Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, take me out and bang me on the head. Marvelous. The Hebrew word for a name is, Hebrew word for a soul is a neshama. A neshama. So the rabbis build it as a name. Right? Your name, your neshama. We discussed this. We discussed the story of Boaz, right? The whole shoe thing, remember? The whole shoe, the chalitza, yibum thing. Right? Past the name goes down, they don't literally last the name. Right? The name wasn't used again. Right? Boaz's son was not called Boaz. Right? When Ruth and Boaz had a child, right? They did yibum, right? They did the levirate marriage, and they didn't call the child the name represented the soul. Because your name is your soul. Inside your Hebrew name is your life mission. Possibly an English name, if you go by it, by the way, which is something else, not for now. But that's your name that ends up perpetuating itself. Okay? So inside the name is more than just your handle, your title, it reveals your mission. So when the Gemara says, hey, there's 4 names of Mashiach, it's not saying, oh, that's how to find him. Because we're going to see, he's going to do a lot more than just have a Hebrew name in order to Mashiach. He's going to have a whole checklist he's got to fulfill, including bring the Jews together in Israel and building the temple. We got a lot to do. But when it talks about the names, we're learning about the nature of Mashiach and, listen well, my sisters, the nature of the times that Mashiach comes in. Does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Great, thanks for telling me. I said it again. We're going to look at the various 4 names of possible names of Mashiach. That's what the Gemara is going to tell us in Sanhedrin. 4 possible names. We're like, who cares about that? I'll tell you why. Because your name reveals something about yourself. Okay? Your name reveals something about you because you're Shem Neshama. Not only is it going to reveal something about you, right? Well, you I can't say for sure, but about Mashiach, it's going to reveal something about the times that he lived in, will live in. As in what's happening, the times, what's going on in the world. Okay? Are they peaceful times? Dangerous? So we're going to see information by looking at these 4 names. Are we together? Should we learn these 4 names?
His name is going to reveal.
His name, yeah, the fact that Gemara spends a whole piece talking about the names, 4 possible names of Mashiach, that means inside those names is something I can learn about Mashiach. Right? Because I'm learning about his neshama. Wild, right? Getting more and more intriguing. Orish Langa.
So then why would you name after like people that name after like
Very, very good. Why do we name? That means you're going to have to say that that name is being passed down. That person's neshama is coming down and
that
is...
gives in to the
That's what we name. Why do we name after the deceased? Why name after grandmothers or grandfathers? Why name after victims of Holocaust, for example, is a very big thing now, or to name after a Jewish holiday, the time of year, right? Purim babies are Mordechai or Esther, and Chanukah babies are Matisyahu, right? Right? Or Yehudis. Why? Because there's something about in the name itself. Is name. You have to be very careful with the names you choose. Okay, I have a whole class just on names. I can't do it right now. It's very, very interesting. Okay, I have a great fascination with this. But your Hebrew name reveals your mission. Right? Why do people who are very, very sick, change the Hebrew name? What does that mean? We change the name. Get medical help. We do that as well. Why do we change the name? We add a Chaya to a woman, or Chayim, or Raphael. You're saying it's not the same person. You see, David is sick. But Chaim David, he's okay. It's a different person. That's what you're doing. Right? As if that's a different person. Well, it's not a different person. If you change the name, you change the person. That's what you're really doing there. That's what's happening. Okay. The Rambam says, fascinating, that before Yom Kippur, people used to change their names. That was one way of doing Teshuvah. They would add a name to themselves. We don't do it now. We'd end up with like 5,000 names. But people used to do that. The Rambam brings that. People literally add names. Right? Because I'm a different person now. Oh, that sinner, that's so 5776. Like, I'm 777. Give me a Moshe on my name, whatever it was. People do that. Right? They went through Teshuvah, they had names. Right now we have Bali Tshuva. I think the English name they kept Hebrew names. Right? I was Phil, and now I'm Yitzchak. That's the modern day version of that. It's a very beautiful thing. Yeah, I don't go by my Hebrew name because I have an unusual Hebrew name, but most people do that. Yeah.
If somebody is, say, like in a hospital and sick, and you want to give them an extra name, so they get a refuah, then what are the guidelines for being able to give them an extra name? Don't listen to somebody.
Okay, I can't. It's not so. You don't just walk in and call. It's the way they're referred to. They call them that. It's used a number of times, and that becomes their name. It's a whole.
It's just like if
It's not. It's a big thing. You go to big rabbis get involved in this stuff. This is beyond my pay scale. The big rabbis get involved with the name that's chosen, how they add it. It's big stuff. They have to be very sick. Right, Rahman Aslan. A name's added. Someone's had a name added on. They didn't have a cold. Although for most Jewish people, getting a cold is like very sick. I understand that, but that's not what's going on over there. They have to get very sick. You're changing the essence of a person. You don't do that lightly. Okay, but I don't want to get to it.
Does the name stay then if they actually get that?
That's a good question. I believe so. Okay. What are the 4 names? Where are Malabavitches again? First name is Menachem. Next name. You're excited now, aren't you? Well. It's a shin. It's because of the shin. Each one of these Mashiach. Yeah, Mashiach. Mem, Shim, Yud, Chet. No, it's not a name you see now. That's right. I take it back. It could be used nowadays. It's actually in the Torah. This was actually in the 5 books of Moses. Yaakov mentions it when he refers to Yehuda. right? Where David Melech comes from. King David comes from the tribe of Judah, so it mentions it there.
What's the next letter?
It's with a shin.
No, the next
Men,
letter.
shin, yud, chet.
No, after shin. What's the next letter?
Do you want to skip?
No, it is something.
Oh, you want to? Okay, lamed. Oh, I'm sorry. Yud, I'm sorry. What did you say? Say it. Shiloh's correct.
Does anyone date that? Angelina Jolie's dating.
What did you say?
Angelina Jolie's dating.
Is Shiloh? Are you kidding me? How come these like non-Jewish celebrities they got all these Jewish names? What's up with that?
Where is it?
You
Shiloh
know
or
that book
Shiloh?
about the dog?
Shiloh.
Shiloh?
Shiloh. What?
There's like a book about a dog. Maybe Mashiach hasn't come because Shiloh is the name that we're supposed to
I'm
do.
done here. Yeah, it's enough with all these ridiculous like Halloween costumes. All the Jews. Did I have my Halloween rant yet?
No.
Can I give my Halloween rant?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, it kills me that you look on Facebook, right, and all the Jews out there, because you know I work in Jewish outreach, so I'm friends with like 8,000 of them. You know, they're all getting dressed up for Halloween. Purim, garnished, nothing. Halloween, and that's bad enough. But they get a baby. The babies are cute, a little pumpkin. It's like I hear that. I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? But then the dogs. They're dressed up, they're little dogs. What the heck out? What's going on with it? So there's a dog dressed up. This is like. Oh, by the way, as a side point, it's not such a joke, by the way. We'll discuss, this is great. We're going to discuss the pre-messianic era and dogs a little bit later. There is a strong connection, and this is one of the proofs for it, by the way, so this wasn't just a side rant, okay, of Jews celebrating Halloween. And by the way, it's nothing halakhic, well, I'll take that back. But Halloween's not bad as celebrating Christmas or something, well, it's probably a pagan holiday. But at least dress up on Purim as well. This became their Purim. Very upsetting. But the dogs are getting dressed up. When we get there, I'm going to show you actually there's a Mishnah that talks about dogs right before Mashiach comes. Right? The generation is compared to the face of a dog. We're going to spend half a class describing that. That's fascinating.
Well, wasn't there a mitzvah with dogs?
Was there what?
Wasn't there some kind of mitzvah to have a story of dogs? And, like,
Yes, dogs do have a good status. They did not bark. Right? Kelev lo yichris l'shona. When the Jewish people left Egypt, the dogs did not bark. Right? We don't mind dogs. There's something about dogs. They're very loyal creatures. Right? Kelev, kol lev, all heart. Kelev is kol lev, all heart. Yeah. There's something about that too. Okay, I got one more to tell you. What time is it? Okay, we'll do a little bit more because I want to prepare for these. That's Shiloh. What does Shiloh mean? Oh, what does Menachem mean? Menachem Nev is to, very nice, comfort. Yeah. It's comfort, right? Menachem, Noach. Oh, this week's parasha. There he is. Shiloh is a gift. Is a gift. Right? Now, why? Why is that? Because when the Jewish people see, right, the king, what do people give kings? Gifts. Right? And he's going to be a gift as well to the world as well, I guess. Well, I didn't see that inside, but that's my personal thing. Right? So Shai is a gift. Right? Shiloh. Next. Yinon. Yinon. Anyone met the Yinon before?
Yeah, I know.
You know a Yinon? Tell him. Give him Mashiach. It's possible. Interesting, right? Yinon. What's Yinon? So Yinon, that's what the Gemara says. Interesting, by the way. Well, I don't want to do too much. I don't know too much off. But the word Yinon, the word Yin can also mean fish. Okay, so when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a big population explosion. We're going to see that's the context thing. One of the signs Mashiach is coming is a massive population explosion in the world. Okay, so it means like Yinon means Yin means fish, says the Gemara. Okay.
Like Jewish or not Jewish?
Jewish. Yin is Hebrew name.
No, I'm saying there will be a Jewish.
Oh no, do you know a big population in the entire world, right? It's going to be part of the messianic redemption. Is going to involve a massive population explosion, which, by the way, is a big topic right now. Right? My dad was reading a book actually about this. It was fiction by Dan Brown, right? The whole thing about population explosion. By the way, there's plenty of room for all the people in the world. And by the way, I'll say right now, I'm going to talk about this again. There is plenty of room. I had an argument with someone about this recently. There's plenty of room for all the Jews in Israel. You're aware of that, right? I'll say it again. There's plenty of room for all the Jewish people. How many are we right now? 17, 18 million or something in Israel, right? All over Israel. Plenty of room. Plenty of room. You know what I'm saying? You can fit 3 million Jews in one apartment building in Brooklyn. We've got enough room in Israel for all the Jewish people. Rant over. Okay, marvelous. Okay, so that's Yinon. So that's fish. Fish as in to multiply. Fish represents lots. Lots to multiply. Lots of people. Okay, so that's something about Ches. Anybody? Hmm?
Chaim?
Chaim, that'd be good, right? No, not Chaim. Not Chaim.
Is it like a common name?
Hmm?
Is it a common
Yeah, it is common. I know people who have this name.
name?
Close. Chizkiah was good as well.
No.
Hanina. Sorry, hey, Hanina. What is Hanina? What's the root of the word Hanina?
Chen?
Chen. What's Chen?
Favor?
Is grace, favor. Very nice. Grace, favor. Very great. That tremendous chen he's going to have. Tremendous chen, and he's going to have great favor, and people are going to respect him. We'll see. By the way, again, we're talking about the Jewish Mashiach. The entire world, eventually, it's going to take time, are going to respect him and look up to him and respect who he is and what he represents. Okay? He's going to bring grace. He's going to bring grace and peace to the world. Okay? Grace, peace, and peace. Okay? Yeah.
So if you're naming your kids without these names, are you basically just like make?
Good question. Very good question. Now, okay, very good. Thank you so much. Great segue. I appreciate that very much. Some say this actually will be the name. So if you want a nice Mashiach kid, God willing, go one of these four. And some say no. The name doesn't mean the literal name, right? Just like Boaz, right, didn't use the real name of the. That's not what we're talking about. What it means actually, Ruth, because Boaz had died at that point, died very early. But what we're talking about over here is these names represent the person, his mission, not the actual name. It could be the real name, but that's not the point of the Gemara. I don't believe. The Mefarshim that I've looked at, I've seen. Unfortunately, not such a big Talmud Chacham, but the Mefarshim, the commentators I've seen, say it represents the nature of the person and what's happening in the world. This is part of the mission. We're seeing in his name part of the mission of the Mashiach. Okay? So if you see someone with the name Mashiach, it doesn't mean they're Mashiach. Right? I mean, that'd be a good thing to do. Name your kid Mashiach, but that's also not going to help. Yeah.
What happens if someone doesn't have any
Even Mashiach or in general?
in general?
Oh, that happens a lot. I've named many people in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s with the Hebrew name. You find one for them. And not all names are good, by the way. Not all names are good. There was a student of mine who became an observant person, and he grew up with a very nice name, Omri. However, we married him. I performed his wedding, and there was a rabbi there, a very great rabbi, who was involved in the wedding. And before the wedding, he says it's not a good name because there was a king called Omri, and while he had good qualities, he had some not so good qualities. Changed the name. Funnily enough, it's funny. He chose the name Noah. This week's parasha. He chose the name Noah. He's a lovely guy, by the way, as is his wife. Lovely couple. Became an observant couple, and started a whole new Jewish family. That out of state right now, and changed the name because the name is like it gives away your. You've got to be careful with names. When you choose a name, you've got to be very, very careful with the name.
no one should be named Omri.
I didn't say that.
But is that like
I didn't say that. You know, in Israel, you meet people called Nimrod. My wife, Yeshiva Flatbush, she had a friend, this is my friend Nimrod. Now, Nimrod was a dictator. He built the Tower of Babel, right? He was a dictator. He wasn't good. But in the Torah, it says, Ish Gibor, wherever it says, he was a strong man, Chazak. Right? A strong man, strong with words. He was a dictator. He uses words to control people. Right? But the Israelis see that, oh, this is Nimrod. This is my other son, Achashverosh. And this is Paro. Yeah, you don't want to go with that. So these are not. I'm not saying if you have that name. You got to speak to someone who knows names. Right? Moshe Weinberger, by the way, in YU is a big expert in names. By the way, if you're interested in knowing, he's the Baal Hashemot. He knows names very, very well. He's got books on this. He's very learned in this subject. So if you have questions, you can go to him directly or speak to him directly. Very nice man. Very nice man. Yeah.
What if you're named after someone that couldn't have kids?
I am. I'm named after someone who couldn't have kids. It's funny that. Yeah, I'm named after someone. My grandmother. I'm named after a grandfather on one side, whose name was Mashiach, which is my Hebrew name. And I know it's weird, right? So I know it's really a rabbi called Mashiach teaching about Mashiach. I understand, right? It's like by Mashiach about Mashiach. I understand, you know, but I apologize. But my second name is Abraham, and my grandmother had a very good friend who couldn't have kids, her and her husband, and to make her happy, she actually named Abraham. So that's my second name. Seemingly, I probably have kids. I mean, I think they're mine. I'm sorry. They look like me. I'll tell you that right now. No doubt about that. I'll show you pictures. Yeah. Okay. Your Hebrew name is very, very important. Okay. You've heard that name before, no? Mashiach, you know Persian Mashiach. And the Persian world's lost Mashiach. Never met Mashiach before? Sarah looks in shock right now. Look at Sarah. Hello? Don't worry. You're not going to an alternative universe over here. I know you're freaking out.
Mashiach isn't coming yet, so it's all good.
No, Mashiach's not here yet. And I'm not Mashiach. But I work for him. Okay. Oh, his arrival. Yeah.
My uncle said that he knows someone that named their twins Yaakov and Esau.
You're being serious. He knows what called the kids Yaakov and Esau. I know someone who's got two kids called Adam and Eve. Adam and Chava. Actually, my cousin married an Eve, and her brother is a guy called Adam Gential. So, Yaakov and Esau. No, you don't want to call your kids Esau. Please do me a favor. Just call me first. Do not name your child Esau. But to Julie Fisher's question a moment ago, there is a thing of people who went through great suffering, you know, and died young, Rahman Aslan. It's not something to. Oh, by the way, if you give a second name to somebody, it sounds unusual. It doesn't counteract the effect, or maybe it does. You could say that, but something interesting. Let's say there's a person in the family you're named after who was a bad person, but you have to name them after them. Your parents will disown you. You can add a second name, and what you do is you're not naming after them. You're using their name. That's how the rabbis kind of like describe it. You're not naming after them, you're just using their name. You see that. There's something called naming after someone, and something like, I'm not naming, add a second name, it's different, because two names is a different person. Yeah.
What if you knew after someone that had a really hard life, and then it's like, I mean, you can see it.
Listen, in our generation, how many kids, my wife, I came, a whole family wiped out in the Holocaust. Right? I mean, you know, you just like, how many names you use names. It's a big schut for that person. They died in the Holocaust. That person died a martyr, and use that name. What a kadosh, what a beautiful name that is, to name after such a person.
Right, so I'm saying, like, what if someone, like, was, like, sick their entire life and died early, and you name after them? Can't it be like, oh, you named after them, so they went...
You have to, I hear a question. Name after a sick person. You have to speak to the professionals on this one. I'm not an expert in this area. But it is a question. Which you're asking is a question. There's a question, yeah. Yeah.
What about choose a very non-Jewish names?
Well, like Lawrence,
Yeah.
the saint. That's their name. You go by your English name. People do it all the time. Yiddish name, right? That's fine. People do it. They go by these names. What?
What's your Hebrew name?
I told you, Mashiach.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, yes, Mashiach. But you go by. I got my English name for that reason. I just grew up. I don't know. I just go by that name. I did meet a rabbi many years ago who said, okay, take this or leave it. He said you should use a Hebrew name because it will calm down your personality. Do I need to calm down a bit? Yeah.
That could be taken quite offensively.
Exactly. I was like, very accurate, that. He didn't even know me. He's like, you should go with your Hebrew name. That's what he said. I can tell you a very strange story, but I don't want to do it on tape because someone might just get offended by it. Okay. So you're unusual. Okay, I can't do it now. Yeah, we'll do it later. Yeah. I won't say it's disrespectful, but it's touchy. It's touchy, you know. Grandparents take the name of their children. We know we Sephardim name after the living, and Ashkenazim name after the dead. And take it. I never understood this, right? But now I'm a parent. You know what I'm saying? I see people get very, very. They want the name to carry on in the family. It's a name that goes right back. You know. It's a very delicate issue. And there's many shalom bayit problems that I've seen that come around where people name the child after this side of the family first, that side of the family first. There's a lot of fights that go through. I'll tell you a quick story about names. 1 second. I'll tell you one quick story. My wife has dreams. She has a sixth sense. She's very practical, but she has, you know, very sweet. She has dreams, and the names of all our children came to her in dreams. That's what she tells me. Before she goes, oh, that's the name. So my second daughter was born. And I told you this story before, right? And it was Hanukkah, Shabbat Hanukkah. She gave birth, right? And my wife says, it's a true story. My wife says to me, I know the name. Before she was born, by the way. So I was like, what do you mean? We're having a boy. She's like, no, we're having a girl. I was like, please, hello. Ended up with 4 girls, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. So she says, what's the name? She goes, the name is Chaviva. I was like, what? Chaviva? I never heard the name before. I never heard the name before. Sarah! Rebecca, you know? You get me. I have Rebecca eventually, actually. You know what I'm saying? You know? What is that? Bracha. I got my bracha as well now. Right? What's... She's like, No, but that's the name. If you remember my wife, this story would make a lot more sense. No, that's the name. I'm like, but can't we just choose a regular name? So she gave birth to a girl. Well, pretty good. 50-50. Oh, yeah. So we have, there's different minhagim when you name the child. Some the first time a person goes to the Aliyah. Most of the people on the Shabbat that follows after Sfarim do the Shabbat. Some wait a month, different customs. So it was Erev Shabbat, and the next morning I'm going to get called up and have the name. So it's Friday night, and it was Pashat Vayigash, and we got into I spoke to my rabbi. Rabbi said it was a very strange name. I haven't heard it before. He's like, you're not allowed to choose a name that's going to embarrass your child. You can't like call a name your child like Laser Beam, you know, or Honey Pot or something, you know, or Brooklyn or something ridiculous like that, or Apple Fish, you know, whatever it is. You can't do that. You can't use it. That's serious. That's halacha. You can't use a name that's going to embarrass the child, you know. You also shouldn't fight about it. Okay, so we fought about it, and it was Friday night, and it was Friday night dinner. Trying to prepare for the midterm, I'll go in big trouble. So I said, you know, I lived there, and I pulled the Chumash off. I want to go through, you know, right? Going through the Torah with the. I looked through the Arabic translation. I have Unkelus, David's Parsha. It's there. Yehud and Yosef get into a big fight, and here it says you can't take back the other brother. Because why? Because Yaakov's soul is connected to Binyamin, right? Nefesh, Chaviv, and Chaviv appeared in the David's Parsha. I was like, whoa. That's really too much. So and then I called my rabbi afterwards, and he says, you know, something very weird happened. I opened up my Gemara after talking to you, and the first name I saw was Rabbi Chaviva. It doesn't appear much in the Gemara. He's like, this was his words, I'm not superstitious, he said to me, but that's what happened. And she was born on Hanukkah, and the Rambam describes only one mitzvah as Chaviva Admur, very, very special. Chaviva means very special. That's the Hanukkah lights.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa, I'm done. That was the and she's very, very chaviva. Well, she likes taking selfies. I don't know what that means. So that's... Okay. Yeah.
How do like Yiddish names work? Like when people have names.
Good question. That becomes the name you're called becomes your name. I feel like ketubas. People don't have Hebrew names. You give them a Hebrew name beforehand if you can. If not, you transliterate. That becomes their name. What you're called becomes your name. Easy answer that question. Okay, let's go to Mashiach. So we have the 4 names of Mashiach. We've learned 4 things about Mashiach. We can't go anywhere. Preparing for midterm right now.